When it comes to living the American dream, a lot has changed, but owning real estate has always been a part of it. With everything going on these days, $100,000 just doesn't hit the same as it used to. Well, today I'm going to give you the best 5 unique homes that can be built for under $100,000. Some a lot less. All of which would be sweet places for anyone to live full-time if you're just starting out, or what makes them even more interesting is building an experiential income home that can make you $100,000 or more in rental revenues every year. First up is a converted garden shed. Yes, these things. One of our Land Hacker members, Eder, bought an extra large one for $13,000, which included delivery and on-site construction, and turned it into a unique rental machine, generating approximately $80,000 a year. Now, I actually went and visited his property and toured the whole place, and someone could definitely live in one of these things full time. Now, it's definitely smaller than what we're normally used to, but if you factor in the climate that you're building in, you could easily blend the interior living with the exterior and make your living space feel a whole lot larger, kind of like what Eder did here. This whole area that you see here cost him approximately $100,000 in Texas in 2023, which we know prices were already really high.
Roughly, I'm estimating about 100,000 or so for what you see here.
That's amazing. That includes utilities, contractors doing the work. Now, if you did it yourself, you'd probably be looking at only $40,000 to $50,000. Now, kit homes seem like all the rage at the moment for folks and on YouTube, but these are the OG kit homes where you can go to your local big box home store and literally pick one up today if you wanted to, which I have actually done a number of times on my properties. These sheds, they can even be fully customizable with windows, doors, roofing, siding, color, and they'll even send a 2-man crew out to build it for you. They're essentially the original tiny homes and backyard office sheds. Now, many of the brands like Tough Shed even have a 5-year manufacturer's warranty, which is far better than a lot of other local builders' warranties. Now, one of the things I really like about these is that they're pretty solidly built, even with a solid metal base framing to provide more rigidity and basically helping protect your home from rotting, water intrusion, and insects. Now, here are my hot tips if you decide to go down this route. Make sure you use only stainless steel screws if you're using any exposed screws on the exterior. Enough said. 2, more windows and doors make spaces like this that are a little bit smaller feel a whole lot bigger. 3rd, choosing a good exterior color and design scheme can really make a small space seem a lot higher end than what most people think. Check out what my friend Devin did with his tiny home in Washington. This is the before and then the after. Feels like I'm looking at 2 completely different spaces. Now, this goes without saying, but pricing will vary by location, and you're responsible for checking local building codes and permits. But all my options today can be easily built to code without much investment. Just a little bit of forethought and planning. And if you want to see how me and my friends are taking the very homes in today's list and turning them into 6- and 7-figure rental incomes with equity creation and cash flows, you can watch my entire free training and download my whole kit, which includes my spreadsheets, my checklist, and guides. It's all over on my website, kaiandrew.com, or you just go down and click on the link in the description. Number 2, Aframe Kit homes. These little cuties have a timeless feel to them and can be absolute gems. That's because A-frames are one of the earliest structures created by man. Next to the simple lean-to, instead of just leaning logs up against a rock wall for shelter, the next simplest thing to do is to lean logs against each other. Now, I have no historical proof or evidence of this, but it makes sense if you think about it, right? So we'll just run with it. But as a builder, I do know that constructing a simple A-frame can be significantly less expensive than the more traditional home. They are also easier to maintain, and they shed ice, snow, and rain much more efficiently. A-frames are more affordable to build because you simply don't have as much material, engineering, or labor as your traditional home. Now, you can get plans and even buy full kits from companies like Den Outdoors or Aframe, I think that's how you pronounce it. And if you're wanting a space for 600 square feet, you can buy the kit for $75,000 and finish it out yourself for well under $100,000. But if you want a contractor to do it all for you, I'd probably recommend getting one of the smaller kits, like around the 300 square foot space. And those kits are around $22,000, or at least they start around $22,000, and then you can definitely finish that out for less than $100,000. Here are my hot tips for the A-frame kit homes. Kit homes will always charge you a premium to ship you everything on a flatbed truck. Another option to save money is to buy the plans for $500 to $1,000, get it stamped by a structural engineer in your state, that's another, say, $1,000, and then have a couple construction supply yards build on the material package, and then have a contractor bid on the labor. I know that sounds like a lot. It's really not that, but it does sound like a lot. This can easily shave off 15, 20, 25% of the cost for you. Number 3, containers. My personal favorite. Now, I know there are two very obvious camps when it comes to repurposing containers. There are those that are super pro, and then there's those that despise them and hate them with all their hearts. I'm honestly in the middle. And I'm speaking as a container builder and lover. They can come out looking beautiful, and they're some of the most successful short-term rentals in the marketplace. Take mine, for example, my buddy Devin's, and then the Box Hop, and all these other ones that you see normally on Instagram or YouTube. But there's a lot of building science, metalwork, and engineering that needs to be taken into consideration before retrofitting one, especially if you're gonna have people live in them. That's where done-for-you container home companies come into play. Now, if you want something super durable and can be relatively easy to move around, you may want to check out your options with containers. These container builders can customize and ship you fully built out containers or even shells ready for you to add the finishes that you want. Some companies to check out are Stackhouse Containers, Alternative Living Spaces, and SI Containers. None of them are sponsors. They just offer these options, and they all have low cost options, even as low as $40,000 for a 20-footer. But if you're planning on full-time living, I'd honestly recommend something bigger. Here are my hot tips when it comes to containers. Containers can feel small because they're meant to fit on a trailer, and they're longer than they are wide. Once you put in framing, walls, and cabinetry, they tend to feel very narrow, exceptionally narrow. I recommend designing the space to incorporate outdoor living if your climate allows it, or consider connecting two containers together to help widen out the space. Second hot tip, now I know containers look like they're bulletproof and they're stacked on top of each other, and it seems like they can carry a ton of weight. The minute you cut into the skin of a container, you ruin the structural integrity. So there's a lot of metal work that has to be done and some engineering to make sure that the container doesn't collapse once you start putting a lot of weight onto it, or you start to cut big, massive holes into the shell. Something to consider. Everything that we've seen in this video so far has the potential to be a great return on investment. But in order to work towards that, you need to not only find the right location, but also make sure that you're getting in front of the right guests. And you can do that with today's sponsor, Booking.com. For short-term vacation rentals, consistent bookings are key, and Booking.com helps you achieve that in several ways, including a partner onboarding program that helps 45% of new listings get their first booking in the first week of going live, and helping new spaces jump the algorithm with their innovative quality rating system, so you don't have to rely on reviews to boost your listing. Now, setting up a property is super easy. It can be done in like 15 minutes, and you can seamlessly import property information from one travel website to Booking.com. And what's important to every host, and I can attest to this myself, is protecting your investment or your home. Well, Booking.com is one step ahead of you with guaranteed payouts, fraud protection, and support if guests damage your property, along with a $1 million liability protection for each and every reservation. Now, our Land Hacker members are launching new listings every single month, and Booking.com is a great platform to reach out to the masses and increase our reach. One final tip, be sure to create those special spots in your listing that makes your photo pop. It'll help you get even more clicks when people are browsing through Booking.com. Give them a try. I think you'll like the results. Link just down below. Number 4, geodomes. Now, these things took over America by storm the last few years. But these things don't just look cool, but they're also crazy functional. Easy to pop up, relatively light to maneuver around, and very high ceilings make them feel very spacious, even though they're relatively small. Only about 400, 450 square feet, depending on the size that you get. Now, these things are incredibly strong too. They can handle the weight of multiple grown men climbing around the skeleton. Trust me, I know, we did it while we were constructing it. But they also resist wind speeds up to 120 miles per hour and shed ice, snow, and rain with ease. Now, some of our members who have built these out have turned them into absolute dream units. Not only do they come fully stocked with everything you need to live comfortably, but breathtaking views and privacy never hurts either. Well, I'm building one right now. We're personally turning ours into a sauna/fitness center. Yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see that video. That's gonna be coming out pretty soon. Now, the price of domes vary widely by size, but a 24-footer will set you back around $20,000, including the insulation liner. That leaves you more than enough to build out the platform and finish out the interior any way that you want. My hot tips for the domes: be mindful of local building codes. Not all areas will allow these. And then if you're in a very hot area, like climate-wise, try to build this in the shade, but don't put it directly under any trees. You don't want any limbs or branches falling and puncturing or potentially hurting guests that stay inside. But in direct sunlight, it will be 30, 40, 50 degrees warmer on the inside than it is on the outside. So you want to be very mindful of that. And in the summertime, it can get so hot that even a large AC unit will struggle to keep the place comfortable. Moving on to the last and not least, number 5, which is my personal favorite: custom tiny home on a foundation. Now, this is where you could build some very cool spaces because you have absolute control over the project. You're not limited by a kit or certain dimensions like a container or a dome, and you can literally build in whatever shape or size that you want and configure it to the topography of your land. Now, I'd still recommend keeping things simple for the cost savings, but the constraints are definitely not as extreme. Now, if you're a more experienced builder or you have a good builder as a partner, you'll know where to invest your dollars to get the best bang for your buck, and other places where you can shave costs down to protect your budget. That way, you can build a ton of, word of the day, equity. Now, for example, which I've encountered literally 4 or 5 times this year alone, understanding one type of roofing system may cost, $20,000, $30,000, or using a close alternative like metal standing seam roofs costing only about $5,000 to $10,000. There are massive cost savings when you're planning out your own custom build. Now, if you're DIYing it, I'd suggest budgeting around $150 a square foot, and if you're hiring everything out, I'd budget around $300 a square foot. Of course, that doesn't include the cost of land. That'll get you a space somewhere between the 300 to 700 square foot space. For me personally, I think the sweet spot's right between 650 to 700 for a couple, and that's really comfortable and there's plenty of room and space and you don't feel like it's super tight. Now, between all the options, if time and supply issues were not a factor, I'd choose this each and every single time. Now, these 5 builds are all great ways for you to get started, whether you want to live in it full time or are interested in unique spaces to generate you income, like my space here that I built for $18,000 back in like 2016, 2017. It now generates me consistently $35,000 to $40,000 in rental income each and every year, not to mention a couple $100,000 in equity. If you want to learn how me and my friends are doing this in our Land Hacker program, set up a free call with me and let's see how we can help you. Link to my calendar is just down below. Now go watch these 7 tiny homes on one property make $1 million a year. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. The guy's a hero. He's freaking cool. Best land hack I've ever seen. Go watch it.